I do think it's a new commercial. I love the way that he used, he's not branding himself. He's branding himself with his initiative being the benefit. And he's always done non-traditional media, whether it's in between two ferns or he's meeting the people where the people are at.
Mm-hmm. So you're the branding genius here, as I just said. You know, we see the president sticking out his tongue. We see him winking. He's smirking. He's trying on sunglasses, all in front of a dirty mirror, I might add. I was like, why didn't he clean that mirror? How good or bad is this for his brand?
I think it's excellent. I think that it's showing the people that the president is human. I think that he's doing what we all do on our own time, in public or private. Who out there has not sent their wife or their child a selfie? I think that, you know, the government and the president is somebody that's elected by the people, for the people, and I think that he's showing he's human, and that's just part of his brand, and he's always been successful at that.
Yeah, and we have this idea, maybe it's old school, maybe it no longer should exist. I'm not sure that the president should be this stodgy person that, you know, only does mainstream media or, you know, does press conferences from, you know, the East Room or the Oval Office. Are those days gone?
Well, you know, the term, you know, the presidential term or acting presidential, it's an ever-evolving term. I think that you have your Roosevelts with the fireside chat who was meeting the people where they were. Then you have your President Clinton playing the saxophone, and maybe that's not good enough anymore because with transparency and the market, people know that people are human and the president is human. I think he showed a lot of presidential characteristics. I think he showed that he's about family because he's drawing a picture of his wife. He's about sports. He even practices his speeches with simple words like February when he is one of the most elegant speech writers ever to take the stand. So we are seeing that he's human. He practices, and he is one of the people elected by the people.
Yeah, and as we say, I used to always get this from my teacher at school. It's February, not February, right? So I thought that part was pretty funny. But is this at odds with what he's trying to get accomplished? Should he be doing this when he is asking for war powers? Are the two at odds with each other, or can he do both at the same time?
I think you could do both, and I think that, you know, pushing his agenda in a very viral way is also gaining a lot of other people who believe in his agenda and believe in what he's doing and whoever he will endorse or believe to be our next leaders. And I think that the people he are hitting are going to be our next leaders and decision makers. So I think it can only help by showing that he's one of us.
If you had a presidential contender, someone who was running for president, would you advise them to do the same sort of thing?
I would only advise him to do the same sort of thing if it's natural to them. I think that when he was elected, he actually had a very young turnout, and he had people revolt within the system because they felt like they had the power. And I think you should only do that if it's natural to you. Yeah. I think it comes natural to the president, and he's a cool president. He's hip.
Daymond John, thank you.